Do Africans hate African Americans and resent us when we come back home to the continent? Hey, Jason here. If you've been watching the channel, you've been seeing me as I've been going through this nomad life for the last 9 years. I am now on my third continent, fourth country. I am in the continent of Africa, in the country of Zambia. And so today, let's dig into this topic. So I was watching some videos on YouTube today, and this was one of the things that was said, and it was from a Haitian American that lives in the United States. It was my first time ever running across her channel, but I think it was from someone who has never been to the continent of Africa. And I think sometimes people watch some of these YouTubers or some of these influencers that come to the continent, and they don't realize their experience does not mean that is for the majority. And yes, some people come here, they have a horrible experience. Some people come to the continent, they may actually have their life in danger, things of that nature. But you have to base that off the individual person. You cannot make just a a mass blanket statement and say that applied to the whole continent. And so I just really wanted to break this down because in case you have seen that video or seen others that's saying stuff like that, you may be afraid to actually come to the continent. And I'm going to be honest with you. You should come here. There's things to learn here. There's business opportunities here. There's land investment opportunities here, things that don't exist in the United States that you're able to do here. And so first thing I want to say is, one, Africa is a huge continent. I believe Africa is the biggest continent that have people on there. Ooh, fly. Jeez. Why these flies always want to come out when I'm starting to film? And because I have the door open. And so with that being said is when people be like, oh, Africa this, Africa that, where are you talking about in Africa? I believe there's over 50 different countries here. So what country are you talking about? Which country do not like Black Americans? I'm going to be speaking for the SADC region. This is the southern region of Africa. It includes South Africa, Lesotho, I believe Eswatini is one of the countries here, Namibia, Botswana, and Zambia. I think that's the last one. I think that's the entire SADC region. If I'm wrong, I'll put the correct information in the comments. But this is the only region I'm speaking of because this has been the region I have been in for the last 2 years. For this region, they love Black Americans. There's a lot of Black American culture here. They listen to a lot of our music, our TV shows, a lot of our recording artists such as Neo, BB and CC Winans. Who was the one that just left from here? Khalees was out here, and there was another one. They listened to a lot of Tracy Chapman, but there was another recording. Carrie, what is her name? Carrie Hilton. She was out here also. And so all of these people come here and record. They get sold out shows. There's a lot of love here for Black Americans. And so I'm going to tell you straight up, I don't see that hatred here. I see people who embrace us. Like today when I was going into town, I had a Yango driver. We had a great, wonderful conversation for about 20, 30 minutes. They speak English here, guys. All of these different things. And it's like, where are these people talking about, oh, Africans hate Black Americans? Because what country in Africa are you speaking of? Like, we have to quit making this mass blanket statement of Africa as if in one African country is the same as the rest. They're not. Every African country is different. The second thing that she was saying was like, oh, it's hard for us to actually acclimate into the societies. Now, that's going to depend on you on an individual level. If you just want your American comforts, you are going to be on the outside of a lot of African culture. But also you have to understand there's thousands and thousands of tribes on the continent of Africa. Every African is not the same. They're different tribes, different cultures, different practices. And so we can't be coming here with this ignorance of just because they have melanated skin, that they're all the same. They are not. They have different tribes. Just because of that heritage and that culture was stolen from us as Black Americans, we cannot paint that image on Africans. You need to do your research. You need to understand what tribes are you going into? What culture are you going to? Who is dominating that region? Like if you're going into certain parts of South Africa, is it dominated by Zulus? Is it dominated by, no, I'm going to say this name wrong and I'm sorry, the Kosas? It's a clique. I don't know how to do the cliques yet. Now, like if you're here in Zambia, are you going into a Yanja dominant area, a Tambuka dominant area, a Bimba dominant area? All of these things make a difference. If you're going to Botswana, is it a Swana dominant area or is it a Kalanga dominant area? You need to do your research and understand where you're going. Like, we cannot keep being ignorant travelers. If you're going to continue being an ignorant traveler, you might as well stay in your home country. And just thinking because people share melanated pigments in their skin, that all of them have to be the same, that is one of the most ignorant things that you can think. That is a colonized mindset. It's time for us to truly wake up in this world and embrace different cultures. And if you're not able to do that, I'm going to be honest with you. Don't waste your time coming to Africa. Just because the people are quote unquote black, it don't make them all the same. There are vast differences between the tribes. And I'm talking about within the same country. Not only are the languages sometimes different, some of their cultural practices are different, their traditions are different. So you have to understand these things. And if you're really someone who wanted to assimilate into different African cultures, they're going to open their arms to you. They're going to open their hearts to you. They may even open their homes to you. Like, people will allow you to come in. They'll cook for you. Like, these are wonderful people. Like, it's worse enough the United States government, the media, does such a horrible image of painting the picture of Africa as if it's just some desolate wasteland, people starving, full of famine and disease. Like, we do not need Black Americans who can't even come to the continent perpetrating even more just stupidity, saying, oh, Africans hate Black Americans. That is not true. And quit being in these TikTok live groups where people who are just making these blanket statements of ignorance and hate towards one another just so they can keep getting high view counts, high likes, high donations. They're doing that for monetization. I'm in the continent. I've been here for 2 years now. I love it here. I'm telling you, it's great people here. And if you're coming with an open heart and an open mind, the people will embrace and love you. But if you're coming with ignorance and stupidity, I can't tell you if you're going to have a wonderful experience like I am. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you're coming to any type of country that way, you're not going to have a great experience. Like, I was watching this guy on kick.com. And speaking of kick.com, if you haven't followed me on there yet, follow me at Jason Chaney 777. I'm going to actually be videotaping. I'm going to try to do my live videos of me taking the train next week to Tanzania to show that to you live in real time. If not, it'll be a static video. But this guy went into Thailand, went into the airport, a drunk, hot mess getting off the airplane, cursing out their equivalent to TSA. And you know what? They detained his butt and sent him back home the next day. Like, people do not want to deal with ignorant, brash people, especially if you're disrespectful. Even in America, you don't want disrespectful people coming into that country. So why do you think just because you have an American passport, you should be able to do that in another country? Like, it's time to wake up. It's time to show respect. It's 2024, and it's time to just be a regular freaking human being. Like, we're not that much different. But the more you hold on to this ideology of nationalism, it's going to make it hard for you. And so if you have any questions or comments about being in Africa, now, if you're in Africa, leave comments down below and let people know what your experience been. So they can see, like, it's not just Jason. I meet other people here all the time that are loving being on the continent and living their best life. But if you have any questions, leave them down below. And if you're in the continent or been to the continent, leave that down below too, because just remember, collaboration is the key, and the more information people get, it makes it simpler and easier for them to start their travel and journeys also. And just remember this, I'm Jason, and success is simple once you know how.